Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to be giving you our NFL top 5 power rankings as well as a quick preview into the Thursday night football game. First off, we're going to kick it off with each of our power rankings. Saketh, we'll start with you. Give us your top 5.
All right, so at number 5, I got the Bucks. I think that their record hasn't really showed how good they are. Obviously, they're 2-2, but when you consider that one of those weeks they had absolutely no receivers. Their number one receiver was Russell Gage, and it's Russell Gage. So I don't really think that really showed how good of a team that the Bucks were. And then obviously earlier in the season there were some inconsistencies in the O-line. So I think when you have a guy like Brady with as much experience as he has, and obviously with no more familial distractions, I think he's gonna continue to grow with it with his guys. And as Godwin comes back and as Mike Evans starts to gel more, and as there's more consistency, I really think the Bucks are going to be back where they were last year.
And guys, any thoughts on Saketh's quick comment on Brady and his family issues?
Well, yeah, that was it's rough. Just Antonio Brown's on deck. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I heard Zach Milson was right there. We're right there in those DMs. So maybe he's back.
We're gonna stop Saketh right there, and we're gonna move on to number 4. Saketh, who do we have at 4th?
All right, so this one might be a little controversial. I got the Niners. I already see Will getting a little bit angry, but I think the Niners have arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL, especially considering all 3 levels with their front guys, and then in the secondary. I think those guys in the front make that secondary at least hold up in some regards. I think when you have a guy like Fred Warner, and you have a guy like the guy who's getting trained by Polamalu. I forgot his name. The Polynesian guy. You know what I'm talking about. The guy with the great hair. But yeah.
Rafanga? You don't even know his name?
Yes. No, it's hard to remember his name. Okay. But I think D'Amico Ryan's defense is really good, and I think they've done a good job of keeping the 49ers in close games. And I think as Jimmy G starts getting back into the groove, and that offense starts getting back where it was last year, especially with Deebo Samuel getting back into rhythm, I think they'll be right back where they were last year at the NFC Championship.
Well, I'll let you start if you got anything to say about that.
Yeah. Look, I thought about it, and I'm going to hold back. I think the 49ers are a very good team, and I do see what you're saying with their defense. Great defense keeps you in games, and Jimmy G, not a great quarterback. He's not going to carry your team, but with the offense they've set up around him, with Deebo Samuel basically just doing everything behind him, and Brandon Ayuk's fitting better. I see where you're going with it, but I don't think they're in the top 5. I don't think they have the ability to beat the better teams that come out and are like looking very sharp on offense. The Rams have just been all over the place. So, teams that really could show up and shut down, like the Rams played bad defense on Monday night. They were missing tackles all over the field. It just, if they play a better team that's there and that comes out and plays their best game, I think it's the 49ers really don't stand much of a chance, because they don't have that quarterback that could lead them on the comeback drives and really set the role model. They have Deebo Samuel doing that, and I really don't think that's going to be able to carry them to the NFC Championship.
Listen, I think you got to respect the fact that Jimmy G is a NFC Championship winning quarterback. Okay. Hear me out. He's not the guy who's gonna go out and be the guy and win you the games, but he's not bad in the sense where he's gonna be the guy who loses you games, right? And when you have the pieces around Jimmy G, who in the earlier in the year with Trey Lance, they really haven't been great. Deebo is just getting back into rhythm. Ayuk is, really starting to get in his groove as like the true wide receiver 2 for this 49ers team. And George Kittle is just coming back from an injury. So I think once this offense starts getting into their rhythm, I think, combined with their defense, they are a top 5 team in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I'm going to finish up. I like what you said about Garoppolo. I don't know. I don't see their offense being strong enough to be top 5. And also, real quick, Jack and I said this earlier. I don't know if I'm throwing Jack in the bus if you don't like this, but I feel that if Jared Goff was on the 49ers, they would have gone further in the NFC. He's just a better quarterback. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo looks great in the offense he is, but he doesn't do anything special. He just dumps the ball off to Debo and lets him work. And Ayuk, I mean, and George Kittle, you can't mention him in the offense. He's an additional left tackle. He's done nothing to help them. And he's not gonna work back in from injury. He's still just a blocking tight end, and they don't use what he could be. They just kind of block with him. So I mean, I don't know about top 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. You said Garoppolo doesn't lose them games, but he literally lost that Broncos game. I mean, they lost 11-10. The fact he can't put up more than 11 points was kind of sad. He ran out of the end zone. That was a sad showing from him.
Listen, I think you got to consider that was Garoppolo's first game of the season, and with Trey Lance leaving and Garoppolo coming in, that's an entirely different playbook at that point. And now they're gonna have to go back to that playbook they used last year, and it takes time when you're in the middle of the season and you're making a drastic change like that. So I think you got to give him a little bit leeway with that type of stuff.
I love Kyle Shanahan. I think he could turn that team amazing because he's a wizard. He's a magic. He's so good at turning that playbook amazing. He runs different plays than any other coach, and they're great. And if he does that and it works, then I could see him being 4th at the end of the season. But right now, no. Just no.
Yeah, so Kath, what you said before, you said Jimmy G is an NFC championship quarterback. But if we're all being honest, Jimmy G was a quarterback that happened to be an NFC championship team.
I think Jimmy G is if you went on the dictionary and looked up system quarterback, I think Jimmy G would pop up.
Yeah. He's not going to, Kath, you're right. He's not going to lose you games, but he's not going to win you games. So don't be calling him an NFC championship quarterback. He was just a quarterback that happened to be on an NFC championship team.
Flacco was the last QB to be a systematic quarterback to win a championship. That was a long time ago. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not happening. The only guys winning rings are Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, maybe Allen. Those are the only guys that are going to win your Super Bowls.
Yeah, and don't forget the ring Zach Wilson is winning from Giselle soon. So I think that one's coming. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Kes, what's your third team?
Yeah, we're gonna move on to.
We have to force them in twice in a row.
So at number 3, I have the Chiefs. I really don't think there's much argument to be made here. With the Chiefs, that their defense is not going to be the strong point of their team. Patrick Mahomes is going to be that guy week in, week out to win you games. And I think, this year he's right up there where he left off in previous years. And I think, him and Travis Kelce have been great this year. And I think Patrick Mahomes is doing a great job of spreading the ball with the other receivers. And then in terms of their running back situation, they're splitting between, Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco, and Jerick McKinnon. So I think, combination of all those things, I think the Chiefs are, going to remain a top 3 team in the NFL.
Hey guys, do you have any disagreements with that there? I don't think we should.
I don't have a disagreement, but I just want to harp on the what you said about the running backs. And as an NFL fan, you look at them and you see Clyde Edwards-Helaire is having just a pretty good season. I mean, he's getting a lot of touchdowns. He's getting a lot of yards per carry. And I mean, he's actually playing really well. And to say if you're looking in the future, it probably won't keep up. He won't keep on doing it. But the thing about the Chiefs is they still have they have a brand new wide receiving core and they haven't worked in yet. So I think this Chiefs team is only going to get better, even though their running back group's overperforming. I think that if they slow down, then the newer wide receivers, Juju, I mean, who's the guy they got from Green Bay?
Marquez Valdes-Scantling?
Yeah, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They're all going to start working into that offense, and I think it's going to be a very dominant team down the stretch. So I think top 3 is a good place to put the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been watching Chiefs games, but Isaiah Pacheco, however you say his name, he looks good. The way he runs the ball and how fast he looks good.
Yeah,
guys, I think you can almost say this offense got better I know it's really weird to say, but once Tyreek Hill left, it's almost like Eric Bieniemy is able to show off more of kind of the plays he can call, and it seems like Mahomes isn't forcing the ball to Hill anymore, so they could really run that offense the way they were supposed to all these years. And now, I mean, they look like one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, and they're still growing. Like it's week 5 now, but like week 10, they're gonna be a scary offense if they can put it all together, and I think they will.
Yeah, and another thing about the Chiefs is that losing Tyreek Hill, you'd expect them to become less vertical and more underneath and more mid-level throws, but they've remained as one of the most vertical teams in the NFL, and I think Mecole Hardman and Marquez Valdez-Scantling have been doing like a great job of filling Tyreek Hill's shoes and stretching the field a little bit.
Yeah, so Keth, with that, we're going to move on to the second-ranked team on your top 5.
Yeah, so at number 2, no surprise, I got the Bills. With the Bills, we know that they're right up there with the Chiefs for the best offense in the NFL. But I think, the edge they have over the Chiefs is their defense. And, obviously they have one of, I'd say, the best secondaries in the NFL. Obviously, they've been a little bit, injury riddled in recent, but I think when you have a guy like Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer, who's done a great job last week, I think they do a great job of making that defensive line give them time to get to the quarterback, and I think they've done a great job with that, and even run defensively, those guys have been doing a great job, filling those holes and making sure that they're not giving up too much. So I have the Bills at 2, and I don't think there's really much debate here.
Yeah, I would say there's a little bit of a surprise there, but I'm sure we're going to talk about the Bills a lot today. So we're going to show people why it's such a surprise that they're number 2. So Keth, who is at your number 1 spot for the top 5 teams in the NFL?
I have the Eagles, and I know what people are thinking. They've played pretty mediocre teams to start the season, but I think watching this team, they passed the eye test in the sense that every function of the team is performing how it's supposed to. Coming into the season, PFF ranked the Eagles as the best O-line in the NFL, and you could argue that maybe they haven't been top 1 or top 2, but they've been at least a top 5 unit at minimum. And they've done a great job of making Miles Sanders look better than he is, in my opinion. And with the passing attack, they went from one of the most rush heavy offenses to now a more neutral offense. And I think Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown have done a great job. And defensively, I'd say there's not a single position on the field that you can argue that the Eagles are weak at. And I think through the course of the season, that's going to add up when you have a defense that's limiting teams like that, and then you have an offense that really is a top 5 offense in the NFL. So yeah, I don't think, I know you guys are going to disagree, but I don't think there's any question in my head that the Eagles are number 1.
I just have to say that the Bills have done it for longer. They did it last year, and they're doing it this year. They lost one game because, they should have won the game. The stats said they should have. Allen needs Diggs. Diggs had like a heat stroke. He had cramps and everything. It just like everything went wrong for the Bills that game. I think they should be undefeated. I still think they're the best team in the league. But.
Yeah, the Eagles, I think they're going to be a top 5 team on all of our boards, but I think 1 is a bit of an overreaction, and I'm sure we're going to get to them a little more in the latter half of this video. But yeah, Seth, you even mentioned it. Like the teams they've played, like how could you call and some of them are close games. How could you call that the best team in the NFL?
I think if you look at this Eagles team, I think every unit is performing how it's supposed to, and I think if you just look at the stats and the numbers, it's kind of misleading at the base level. For instance, if you look at that Jags game, it was in the rain and it was really cold, and I think combination of those things, the Eagles didn't perform as well as they were supposed to in the first half. But if you watch that team in the second half, every single position on the field was performing exactly how it's supposed to. And I don't think there's a particular weakness you could point at the Eagles, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is fair. Like I said, we're gonna get to it later in the video. So Will, we're gonna move on. Oh no, Jack, we'll move on to you. For your top 5, who do we have at that number 5 slot?
For my 5 slot, my favorite quarterback, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. they've started out great. Instead of the Vikings loss, it wasn't great, but Rodgers is never good in week 1. Last week, people are overreacting because they went to overtime with Bailey Zapp and the Patriots. It was sad, but it's taken Rodgers a while to get comfortable with receivers. He lost the most talented receiver in the game. Like, I think we can all agree, like, it's going to take time for him to flow. But him and Romeo Dobbs have looked really good. Lazard and him are looking great. And I just love that defense. Jair, they have great pass rushers. And I honestly don't think I put him 5th. I think they're going to go higher later in the season. But for right now, there's just better teams that are playing better and blowing out teams, unlike them.
Yeah, and touching on that Patriots game a little bit, he's still playing a Bill Belichick-led defense. So, I mean, yeah, it's Bailey Zapp on the other side, but it's not like Bailey Zapp is playing defense against him. It's still an incredible defense led by the greatest defensive mind in NFL history. So I think Rodgers deserves a little more credit with that win.
Yeah, and I think, I feel like personally this Packers team is just missing some type of talent to go really compete with these other like top 5 teams. Personally, I think Devontae Adams is a huge hole to fill, and I think Rodgers usually has that one guy he goes to when he has to, and I don't think he just has that this year. And even with a guy like Romeo Doubs, I think the talent is there, but I don't think the season is particularly like long enough, in my opinion, for him to be that guy to fill Devontae Adams' shoes. And yeah, personally, I don't have them as a top 5 team, but what's the point when they're gonna choke in the divisional round or the wild in the playoffs anyway? So
this is week 5. Why are we talking about the playoffs?
Yeah,
we're gonna have a separate playoff video in like 12 weeks. So let's save it for that.
I'm saying it now. If they make the playoffs, they are not going far.
There's also talks of OBJ going to the Packers now. He tweeted it.
Oh my God, that doesn't mean anything.
That means a lot.
He tweeted about the Giants, the Rams. Who else?
Yeah, to be fair, OBJ did go to the opening teams. OBJ went to the opening Rams-Bills game and said, whoever wins this game, I'll be playing for this season. And nothing's happened. So I don't know if we could take that guy's word for anything at this point. Jack, we're going to move on to your 4th-ranked team, who is also the second new team we've had so far in this episode. Who do we have at 4?
It's the Ravens. I love the Ravens. I saw a stat that they're only trailing games this year in 14 seconds. They have been winning
the games they lost.
Yeah.
Let's let Jack give us why, and then Will, you can go at him.
Yeah, the games they lost. Thank you, Will. Only 14 seconds of these games. I mean, they just lost that Bills game. They should have won that game. Bad pass by Jackson in late in the 4th quarter. And the Dolphins game, I mean, like, what was that? That was just the craziest comeback of all time. And Jackson's having a great year. Bateman's starting to get better. Andrews is showing why he is the second best tight end in the league. And that defense is just – it kept where it is. It's always great. I love the Ravens. They draft well. They're a great franchise, and they're always going to be good. I'm a big Ravens lover.
I mean,
yeah. Can we step in real quick, Jack?
Yeah. So I think no one is going to argue that the Ravens offense is not competently good enough to compete with these other teams, but this defense is atrocious. I believe their secondary was ranked 32nd this week. Come on, you can't have a team.
They have the talent. On paper, they look good, but like you're right, Jackson didn't deserve to lose to the Dolphins because the secondary let up 42 points. I mean, there were historical facts coming from what Waddle and Hill did to the secondary. Like that defense isn't as strong as it's been. It's not the Ravens defense we've seen in the past. They were injury riddled last year, and they're coming back from it, and they haven't played well.
It's also a young secondary. They have Kyle Hamilton and other players, and it's going to take a while for them to get together. I think only 14 seconds they've trailed. They've been winning all these games. They really shouldn't be
nothing away from the Ravens, but their defense just needs to put together. I think they should be top 5. I think they're a great team. I didn't put it in there because I just don't believe their defense.
Yeah, and I don't want to single out the secondary as a whole. You guys know I love PFF, and they have 2 safeties in the top 20. Kyle Hamilton's at 9, and Marcus Williams is at 19. But the corners are where it gets a little iffy. So actually, those young safeties have really started to perform, but it's some of those veterans like Kyle Fuller and Marlon Humphrey that are starting to struggle this season.
Yeah, I mean, just Marlon Humphreys has played a very bad corner. I mean, he got hurt. I forgot what his injury was, but it's just he hasn't. The corners have been just irrelevant, and I don't know what the Ravens are doing on defense, but they got to start working with their safeties better. I mean, we saw in the game the Bengals, they played the Dolphins. Jamar Chase had a terrible game. Fantasy owners were getting mad. And then the day later, we see that he was getting one-on-one covered, but he was getting shadowed by a middle linebacker and a safety. I think the Ravens are going to have to start shadowing guys with their safeties who are playing so well to start slowing down these receivers. Because, I mean, their offense is there. Their offense is going to put up 20-plus points a game to really good defenses. To not-so-great defenses, they're looking at 30-plus. If you could start slowing these receivers down, get some turnovers, that's when you're going to start winning games.
That's the ceiling is so high for the Ravens, I think. That's why it's so
definitely.
high.
Something I want to look out for too is the young wide receiver Rashad Bateman. I think the talent is there for him. It's just, I mean, Lamar is notorious for not having great relationships with his wide receivers. Marquise Brown left the Ravens. Now he's blowing it up in Arizona. So I think if we can get a connection with Rashad Bateman, this offense could get even better than it already is right now. Jack, we'll move on to your third team in your top five. It's a very repetitive team, so I'm sure you could zoom through this. But who do we have at 3?
Yeah, 3 is the Chiefs, same as the Keth. They're amazing. I mean, they're amazing. They're 3-1. Colts had a lucky win against them. Will knows that.
Yeah,
and
lucky.
Mahomes, yeah, they lost Tyrann Mathieu. Doesn't matter. The defense actually hasn't been that great, but the offense is always going to be there. Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. That also doesn't matter. He doesn't need a wide receiver 1. He's throwing the ball everywhere. Kelsey's having a great year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is somehow having a good year. I don't know how that is, but they're the third best team. They could be the first best team.
Yeah, once again, there shouldn't be any disagreements there. So, Jack, we'll move on to your number 2 team in your top 5. Who do we have?
I never thought I'd be saying this, but it's the Eagles. I doubted them all the first 4 weeks. Will kept telling me that they were so good, and I guess I have to buy into it. I always liked Hurts, but now he just elevated his offense crazily. Miles Sanders, that's having a solid year. And then A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith they're so good. And that defense with Darius Slay, who's having one of the best cornerback years this year. I'm buying into the Eagles hype, and I think they're second.
Yeah, like Saketh said before, that O-line, Saketh, you said that they're the highest graded or the highest ranked by PFF right now. And Sanders is coming off a massive game. So, of course, he played well, but that O-line is really doing wonders for this Eagles offense.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, the obviously the biggest change for this Eagles team has been, Jalen Hurts progressing. And I think if you watch the Eagles, they're not, he doesn't play like a Lamar Jackson or, the conventional rushing QB. He genuinely looks like a pass first QB who runs only when necessary. So I think, he's developed really well in the last year, and I think we got to give Nick Sirianni his credit.
Definitely, it should be a fun year for the Eagles. Sorry, what would you say?
One thing I want to say about their defense is, they've had a rough start, but that is a very, very, very brand new defense. I mean, a lot of the guys, like I said it before, but a lot of the guys are new, like Hassan Reddick. I mean, they got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They got a bunch of new corners. Their secondary is very, very brand new. I mean, the rookie they got out of Georgia, he's been playing amazing at tackle. And I'm just saying they're another team where they're going to keep getting better as time goes on. And I have a lot of faith in the Eagles. I like them at 2. I forgot where I put them. I might have put them 3 or something. But I just didn't want to buy into hype too much. But as Saketh said, I mean, Jalen Hurts, what he's doing is not the conventional running quarterback. He's just playing great football.
Yeah, for me, anywhere that's not 1 for the Eagles is a great spot. It just depends on how much you like them. Of course, the Keth had to be different, but to each their own with that. Jack, we'll move on to your number 1 team. Who do you have?
Yeah, so Keth and I have already talked about it. It's the Bills. Well, he said it's 2, but he's talked about how good they are. The defense is it's superior to everybody else. They lost Mike Hyde, but I don't think it really matters. I mean, it matters a lot, but it shouldn't matter too much for them. Jordan Poyer got 4 interceptions this year. He's having a great year, should end with a great year. Josh Allen should be the MVP, and him and Diggs they're the best duo in the league. We can't deny it. I just love these Bills, and I think they're the Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to touch on them later on in the video as well. So, Will, we'll go right to your top 5. So, start us off. Who do we have in that 5th slot?
I forgot. Go to the next.
Help you out with the
there
banner.
You go, the Packers. I forgot. I just want to say a few things about the Packers. We already harped on them, but I know this is a football podcast or whatever, but they're gonna talk about it real quick. A movie. It's a baseball movie. One of my favorite movies, Moneyball. I don't know if you guys ever watched it. Have you guys watched it?
It's an all-timer.
There you go. It's a great movie.
I introduced the movie to him.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you, Jack. There's a book right next to me for it, so that's so cool. But what I'm trying to say here is one of the main things that Billy Beane says is you can't replace a hitter like Johnny Damon. You can't replace a wide receiver like Devontae Adams. As Jack said, he's the most talented receiver in football, and I think the Packers actually went out and did a great job of not trying to replace him, but trying to fill up what he can do in getting Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. And I mean, those two guys are going to just gel. And as we've talked about before, Rodgers can turn not really nobody, but not so great wide receivers into really good wide receivers. And everybody's like, oh, why hasn't he done it yet? It's week 4. He's got to get connections with these guys. And I think as time goes on, Doubs is just he's going to keep getting better and better. I mean, we saw like how great, like how high his ceiling is. He could be a great receiver. And Watson too. I mean, and I said that him and Lazard don't have a good connection. I was wrong. I'll admit it. They got a very good connection. They played very well. And I think they could really put it together. I think 5 is where I had to put them right now because the close game against the Patriots, a little shocking. But, I mean, the Patriots had a little heroics. I think they're going to get better and better. And I don't care if they don't perform in the playoffs. That's not what I'm worried about right now. I have them at 5, and they could go up in the list as time goes on, but they're a very good team.
Yeah, well, like you said, Rodgers and these receivers are going to need time to gel, but Rodgers is good enough to make things work with that passing offense. But while they're waiting for that connection to happen, they still have arguably the best running back duo in the league, as well as David Bakhtiari coming back at that left tackle. So they have a very good fallback option while the passing game kind of gets moving and gets progressing later on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the duo is just so great. I mean, A.J. Dillon's he's losing out on the volume, so fantasy owners might be a little upset about how he's playing, but Aaron Jones and that dude was just so like scary. I mean, even them being on the field, you just have to worry about them and what they're gonna do with it. They're gonna have Jones out of the backfield catching passes, or they're gonna run with him. They're gonna run with Dillon. It adds another dimension to offenses that sometimes they don't have, but I mean, it's just another dimension that makes them just that much better.
Yeah, it really is a toss-up between that running back duo and, say, the Browns duo between Chubb and Hunt. It's like whoever you want more. Both those duos are just incredible and easily the top 2 in the league. We'll move on to your 4th slot. It's another new team that no one has mentioned before. Number 4, we have the Miami Dolphins.
So, I mean, Jack's looking excited about this. And everybody's going to go right away and say, well, what if Tua doesn't come back? And so Kath and I were talking about this. Tua's playing great, but if you take a step back, Teddy Bridgewater's really not that much of a downgrade. He's still downgrade, still backup. He was a starter for forever in the league. He was a pretty good starter, and I don't think Tua was making this offense what they were. I think it was how well Waddle and Hill were playing. And sure, the Tua and Waddle connection was very strong in that bolstered their offense, but I don't think Tua was like throwing these guys open. Like, I don't think he was doing it all. I think Teddy Bridgewater can still command this offense. I have him for it now because you just have to respect what they've done. As a team, they've played such great football, and I think they're going to keep playing great football. So I have them at 4. If you guys want to argue with it, go ahead. Their defense is playing very well, and I think they're going to be a good team for a while.
Yeah, Jack, you looked excited when Will first said the Dolphins. What do we have here?
It also get proven. I mean, we all have to see this next week with Teddy Bridgewater what they do, because you could say that they didn't do good when he left, but they were all worrying about Tua last game. It was just a weird game after that injury. It was just a freak accident. They were all worrying about him. We just got to wait for Teddy Bridgewater, see what he does against the Jets. It's his perfect opportunity. But right now, give me the Jets.
I like how the Jets are playing, but we'll see.
Yeah, no way you said that, Jack.
Look, I don't know if Teddy Bridgewater is good.
Keth, you said some more outrageous things today.
Listen. I personally think my takes today were great, Will, and I, you know, I think you just gotta respect it. To be honest, I think when we look back on this video in let's say 3 weeks, you're gonna come and say sorry to me, and you can count on that right now.
You'll definitely. Yeah, I don't think any of us will, Saketh. But going back to Will and the Dolphins, I mean, Will, I'm kind of regretting not having my top 5 now because I mean, you look at the teams that they've played and beaten. They beat the Ravens, who were in a top 5 earlier in the video. They beat the Bills, who are almost all of our consensus number ones. They had a commanding win over the Patriots. It's just really that hiccup with the Bengals last week on Thursday night. That's really like their one piece that you can kind of find some fault in. So the Dolphins are a very good team, but obviously it all comes down to Tua.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part is before the video started, Saketh went on about strength of schedule for the 49ers. Then proceeded to put Eagles at 1 and not have the Dolphins in. So, I mean, that's a great take there, Saketh. But Teddy Bridgewater is going to
Chargers. So we were not talking about the Niners in that conversation.
Whatever. But Teddy Bridgewater is going to command this offense. I don't expect I expect them to beat the Jets. Things can happen, but I do expect them to beat the Jets. And from there, I mean, this is a big game for Dolphins and Dolphins fans to see how Teddy Bridgewater does perform. I mean, he threw 1 pick, but if you were watching the game, he threw it to his tight end, and his tight end just went the other way. I mean, they weren't on the same page. He came in in the middle of nowhere. He didn't expect to start. He just kind of had to come in. He actually did very well. He, at the time, had a better game than Tua had at the time, but I think he could command this offense very well.
Tua had a concussion too. He was like out of it. There's no way he was having him.
That's true too. And for me, Teddy Bridgewater, like Saketh said before, is a very Jimmy G type quarterback. So honestly, if you can just let that wide receiver duo do what they've been doing and just make sure they get the ball by any means, I think this team could still do very well and maybe take just a little bit of a dip, but not as big as people think when Tua is out. We'll move on to your third team. We have the Kansas City Chiefs here.
I mean, we could probably just skip over this. We've gone through everything.
they're a great
Chiefs
team.
are 3. They're a great team. All right.
They're gonna make the AFC Championship. There's not much more to it.
Yep.
So we'll move on to the second team. Another repeat. We're probably gonna be seeing this a lot. We have the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about it. The defense is great. Jalen Hurts is playing great. It's number 1.
All right. Good analysis. We got number 1, Buffalo Bills.
All I gotta say is it's Trey White time. He's back, and he's ready to roll. Bills are number 1. Josh Allen is ready. Diggs is healthy now. It's time for them to just take over. Number 1.
That was an incredible hype-up speech. So
start including Gabriel Davis. That's my guy. Start including
Davis, Isaiah McKenzie. I mean,
Isaiah McKenzie's having a great season.
Yeah, he's playing better than Gabe Davis right now, and he's outperforming everything anybody expected.
Someone's got to find a way to send Will's speech over to the Bills so they can play it in the locker room pregame. I think that would really get them hyped up, run through a brick wall type of thing. We'll move to my top 5. It's going to be a lot of repeats, but kicking it off, and I want to get everything out of the way before you guys come at me and call me a homer or whatever. We have the Dallas Cowboys at number 5. Let me go first. So 1 loss in week 1 to the Buccaneers, where Dak Prescott played atrocious, 19-3. It was an awful loss. But then you beat the Bengals, who just made the Super Bowl. You beat the Giants. You beat the Commanders. Not great teams, but Cooper Rush is playing very well and could be having a bit of a run at that QB1 spot. The O-line is playing incredible. Micah Parsons, DPOY. I don't want to hear anything about that. You can complain about it.
I agree with it. Shaq Leonard can't keep himself healthy, so
without TJ Watt, he's not going to win it. So
Yeah, well, we're waiting for the Colts later on in the video. They're not going to pop up at all for these top 5 rankings, so don't even try to mention the Colts for the top 5.
Give it a couple weeks. I got some stats to back it up. Don't worry.
I can't wait. But yeah, I mean the Cowboys
earlier, but Nyheim Hines RB 1 week, right, Will?
Siketh, stop interrupting.
let me go, Siketh. I'm finally going to give Trayvon Diggs credit. I hated him last year. I thought he was an atrocious corner. He got 11 picks. Who cares? He let up like 1,300 yards. That's unacceptable. And he was one of the worst corners in the league. I'm being completely honest. This year, though, number 23 according to PFF, that's a massive improvement from like 130 or whatever he was last year. So Trayvon Diggs looks like an actual cornerback this year. Micah Parsons playing at the same level. Zach Martin in that O-line is cooking. Noah Brown is a massive sleeper that's rising in that wide receiver core. Cowboys are top 5. It's a very weak NFC this year. What do you have for me?
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs, he's the best ball hawker in the league. I mean, there's no doubt to that. And if he stops giving up those yards like he did last year, he's top 3 cornerback, and that's amazing for the Cowboys.
Which he has. He has stopped giving up those yards. So
I don't know about top 3 yet. I don't know about top 3. I see what you're saying, but not top 3.
Yeah, I don't think Trayvon Diggs is there yet. I think, he's doing really well because he's getting a lot of help from the safety, from what I've seen. But other than that, I think this Cowboys defense has taken, a big step from last year, especially with Micah Parsons and, getting DeMarcus Lawrence back. That's really done some help in the D-line. So I'm not really, mad at this pick, but I definitely think there's teams that fit into that number 5 spot better than the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, I mean, just reminded me that safety position, Malik Hooker. Will, thank you very much to the Colts for him. Number 13 in grade by PFF. He's doing wonderful for the Cowboys right now. I'm sure he's helping out Trayvon Diggs. That's why they're number 5. I don't see any way you could dispute this. Will.
Oh yeah, it's funny. Malik Hooker. Wow, what a great safety. Go look at the PFF grades for our safeties. Nick Cross balled out. He had the highest PFF grade in preseason, all right? So keep talking. I don't want to hear it. All right, and then beyond that, you see, this is a little outrageous. We're going to go back to the strength of schedule and power rankings, and you guys barely beat the Commanders? I mean, you guys barely beat the Giants? Is it a good team? Like, the offense is playing well. When is good a top 5 team? Like, their offense is playing good. The defense is playing very good. They're playing great, but it's just good. Top 5. They run to I can't wait till they play the Eagles. They're gonna get steamrolled. They're gonna get ran over. It's gonna be a 20-point difference.
You're also talking about Packers playoffs.
On the Eagles spread. I mean, the Cowboys are not top 5. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and Ben, we're gonna be in person to watch the Cowboys get smoked.
Maybe we have a special live show at Lincoln Financial Field. Me and Siketh will be there. Just
don't
so
wear
I can
make sure
don't
wear your
catch Siketh's reaction.
Do not wear your Cowboys.
Let's be honest. This Cowboys team is not the best in their own division. Nevertheless, top 5 in the league. They're gonna get exposed week 6 for what they are, and that's gonna be, maybe a top 10, top 15 team, but definitely
he wants to have his glory now. Before they get steamrolled by the Eagles, he wants to have his glory now. So they're 5th.
Cowboys are 5th. That's wonderful.
Siketh is completely right. Siketh is completely right. We are not the best in our own division, but it might be the best top 2 in any division of football.
Listen, I think they can make a run for that wild card.
Well, I want you to prove me wrong. That reaction has me worrying.
I would take the Packers and the Vikings.
Yeah, I'll take the Packers Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah, I would take them over that. I mean,
it's the best record of the top 2 teams in any division.
Wait,
what is the NFC?
Bills and Dolphins? Hello?
That's 3-1 and 3-1. Eagles are 4-0.
I don't care about record. They're like the 2 best teams in the NFL right now.
Give me Bengals Ravens.
Bengals Ravens. The Dallas Cowboys are a good team.
We'll go best top 2 in the NFC. I completely forgot about the Bills and Dolphins. I'm not even going to lie.
Packers Vikings. I'll still take Packers Vikings.
I won't. We're not going to dispute it for much longer. We're going to go to another NFC East team on my list. I have them at 4, which is the lowest. Again, you could say it's my bias. I know they're undefeated. We mentioned it before. Siketh said he actually mentioned it when he had him at number 1. This schedule, guys, is not impressive. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Lions. They beat the Vikings, which is a very good win. And they beat the Jaguars, which is another good win. But just barely beating the Lions. They're a very good team. They're one of the best teams in the NFC, have a very good shot at the Super Bowl this year. But until now, they haven't proven themselves to me. In the coming weeks, I think they're going to have some very tough matchups. So I can't wait to see what they can do against these other powerhouse teams.
Ben, you said the Eagles beat the Commanders, but at least they beat them comfortably and not, very close. So
Yeah, like
so,
why are the Cowboys at 5 and then like the Eagles at 4? I mean,
because the Cowboys are doing this with a backup quarterback.
Did your mom make this list?
The Cowboys are doing all this with a backup quarterback. You don't think they get any better when Dak comes back?
Man. That doesn't mean they're good.
I think it definitely does.
They can get like a little gold badge of honor, but like that doesn't make them a top 5 team. We're worried about who's the best 5 teams in the NFL, not if they have a backup quarterback playing or not.
No, I think that definitely takes into
about
account.
Cooper Rush. The glory's over. Him and Noah Brown. I don't care about their connection. It's like the stupid Mac Hollins story. All right, they're all no names. Like you can't say the Vikings strength of schedule and then put the Dallas Cowboys at 5.
Let me ask one question: if Dallas wins at 4:00 this Sunday at the LA Rams, are we all in agreement they're in the top 5?
No.
So we're not even close.
No,
Listen,
I saw the Bengals.
The Rams aren't that good of a team either.
Rams, Bucks.
Hold on, Ben.
They're not special.
Because you guys freaked out on me for putting the Niners in my top 5, but how come if the Niners how come if the Cowboys beat the Rams, they're suddenly in the top 5?
Yeah, it's
like come on, Ben.
I think the Cowboys better than the Niners.
The Cowgirls are not a good team.
Niners lost to the Bears. Niners lost to the Broncos. They're 2-2. That's
Ben,
all
I will say that it'll be happy when the Eagles get steamrolled by one of these teams finally, and we could shut these two up. I agree.
Well, it's definitely not going to be until week 6 when they play the Cowboys. Which
right, Jack,
I think they versus the Packers in the coming weeks, and they will get killed.
They are so much better than the Packers. It is all right. We can worry about that later, but they're head and shoulders better than the Packers.
We'll see when it
We're
gets.
gonna move on. I already gave my takes on the Eagles. Very good team. I'm just gonna try and move past this whole Cowboys thing, just so I don't get made fun of anymore on my own show. Number 3, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am a massive fan of the Bucs this year. For me,
is this like only NFC teams? Is this where we're going?
Let me get to the top 2 is a drastic change.
Have you forgotten about the AFC?
The top 2 will be very different from the NFC. I think we all know who the top 2 is going to be. Because, Tom Brady is 8th. Like Keth mentioned, he's only going to get better with this divorce. So I cannot wait to see how he plays. Tristan Wirfs and Mike Evans are putting up for them right now. So is Jamel Dean, Mike Edwards, Levante David. These are all guys that are playing incredible for the Bucs. I know they just lost to the Chiefs, and I do have the Chiefs higher than them. But for me, the Bucs are the best team in the NFC this year. I know it's very close at the top, but Will, these reactions are really getting to me. Who do we have at the top of the NFC?
The Eagles. I'll let you finish, but I do have something to say about the Bucs after you.
No, I'm all good. It's your
good.
floor.
Okay. Big coaching change that has gone just under the radar for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't think it's worked out. And I think Brady wanted to take the role as the quarterback and the commander of the team, and I don't think that's worked out either. Brady's been Belichick's little puppy dog. I'm not taking anything away from Brady's greatness, but Belichick ran the team as a coach, and he was amazing. He went over to the Bucs, and who's their quarterback? Who's their coach last year?
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians ran the team, and he did great.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, they won a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying.
That was 2 years ago.
I don't know if Bruce Arians ran that team, if we're being honest. Did Luke Vogel run the team?
Yeah, I think he said Brady.
I think Brady's a great quarterback. I don't think he has the ability to run a football team. He's great and all, but you could say I'm wrong. Leonard Fournette's age.
We are saying that. Trust me.
This is a top 5 team in the NFL. I think Brady can throw the football really well, and I think he can make on-field changes. But I don't think he could lead a team overall. I think you lead a team, but I don't think he can be the number 1 commander, calling the plays, calling the shots, Look
That's
at me
exactly
like
what
that
he
all
is.
you want. It's being shown. What did he do against the Packers? I don't care.
Well,
if
I feel like you make the same
receivers.
argument that like LeBron James can attribute all of his rings to Tyronn Lue and Eric Spoelstra and Vogel. Like, is that your
they're like
argument too?
I don't know anything about basketball, so I can't really say anything. But it's Belichick we're talking about. Like he really helped. He helped Brady. Brady did it. Like Brady's one of the greatest. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. Got to be top 3. He's the greatest quarterback of all time with his stats. But I don't like what they did with him, like wanting to do it all. And I don't think he's shown. Look, you can say whatever you want, but he hasn't shown that he can. And I don't think this is the best team. What I'm saying is Leonard Fournette's aging. He's not running the ball as well as he has. Look at the stats. The raw stats are there, Ben. I mean, so I don't like this Bucs team as much as you guys do.
I gotta agree that Todd Bowles is not a great coach at all, but Brady.
He's not even coaching. It's all Tom Brady.
Brady can run it. Don't doubt Brady. He could
Brady
definitely
can run a team, but like
I think if that one Super Bowl,
coach.
I think if that one Super Bowl with the Bucs proves anything, it's that Brady was 100% not Belichick made.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It does not. Will
and you can make an argument that Belichick is Brady.
No, it proves it was not Belichick.
Well, you cannot be believing the things you're saying. There's no way you believe half the things you say.
We're gonna have to move on.
Belichick made. I'm agreeing with you,
but we're gonna have to move on. Will, you said you don't have much basketball knowledge. I'm seriously putting your football knowledge into question right now. But we're going to have to move on from that. My top 2, we ran through it. Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be in the AFC Championship. And who else will be in the AFC Championship? The Buffalo Bills. Those are the best 2 teams in the AFC. All of us think that there's nothing much to it. They could be the 2 front runners for MVP. Mahomes is cooking with that offense, and obviously so is Josh Allen, especially with that defense, which is just putting up. I know we all mentioned those DBs are incredible for the Bills. We're going to move on to the second portion of the show real quick. We have a Thursday Night Football preview of the Colts, who are 1-2-1 at the Denver Broncos, who are 2-2. Will, I'm going to save you for last. Saketh, can you give us a quick preview for yourself?
Yeah, especially with the Jonathan Taylor news, he is the guy for the Colts, and with him going down, I really don't see a Colts team that can really put up much of a fight against the Broncos, if I'm being honest. Yeah, they have guys like Michael Pittman, obviously Matt Ryan, has tons of experience. But I think, when it comes down to it, this offense is completely dependent on Jonathan Taylor. And I think, since the O-line, which coming into the year was, in contention with the Eagles to be maybe one of the best in the league, they've been 31st according to PFF. They've been absolutely atrocious. And I think because of that, the Colts really haven't played up to what we were expecting. And, now with Jonathan Taylor going down, I think it's just insult to injury. And I don't really see this team going anywhere tomorrow. So, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, I am getting all the Broncos defense I can.
Jack, what about you?
I gotta totally agree with Seth. I love Seth, and your takes there were just amazing. Their O-line is horrible. Now with Jonathan Taylor out, he runs that offense. He's done.
Who's on the Jets? Who even is on the Jets O-line?
What does the Jets do with it? I'm not dissing. I'm not dissing your team. I'm dissing the Colts. I'm dissing the Colts. I'm not dissing your team. All right. I also got to talk about the defense. It is nothing without Shaq Leonard, and we know it. He came back for a quarter. It is nothing without him. The Broncos are going to win this game. I don't like the Broncos, but without Jonathan Taylor and Shaq Leonard, done. Colts are done. Give me Broncos.
Yeah, and let me sorry for interrupting whoever was next, but I didn't really get to talk too much about this Broncos team, and I think obviously Russell Wilson has had a slow start, but I think as he takes more time, he's gonna get back into that that rhythm we expect to see from him year in year out, and I think Cortland Sutton especially has had a great connection with him. But obviously with Javonte Williams going down, that caps the ceiling for this Broncos team a little bit. But when you have a guy like Russell Wilson, you gotta let Russ cook and let him get the ball to Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. But normally I wouldn't have too much faith in the Broncos, but when they're playing an absolutely horrid team, like the Colts, I don't really see this going in the Colts' favor at all. So Broncos all the way.
And Russ looked better last week against the Raiders. He looked better. And he started to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will, I saw you talking a little bit. I did mute you because I knew it would get just way out of hand. So we're gonna bring you on when it's your turn. So just wait your turn there, Will. Yeah, guys, the Colts. I mean, like we said, they started the season off tying the Texans. That should tell the story. Then they got shut out by the Jaguars. Then somehow beat the Chiefs. Does anyone know how they did that? No.
No,
But
no
then,
idea.
oh wait, the Colts are right back. We're gonna lose to the 1-2 Titans. Indianapolis is back. Like that's the Colts we know, and that's the Colts we're gonna know tomorrow night against the Broncos. I got the Broncos winning this game. Broncos have had, like I said, it's a weird start. The defense has been very underrated. People aren't talking about this defense enough. Everyone's saying what's going on with Russ, but they're still 2-2. So this defense must be doing something for them. I know they let up 32 to the Raiders. I'm a big Raiders guy myself, so I think that was a breakout game for them. But I mean, the Broncos still could have stopped them, but nothing much you can do when that Devontae Adams and Derek Carr connection gets going. But I mean, they beat the Niners, they beat the Texans, which is something Indianapolis could not do. So yeah, I got Denver in this one.
Yeah, and Ben, I like that you brought up that defense, and I think one of those guys who's really taken a step up this year is Pat Surtain, and I think early in the season he's put himself in the conversation with guys like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay. I think he's in that conversation now, and I think we got to expect him to be an all-pro level corner from this point on.
Yeah, no, I agree. Pat Surtain is amazing. He top-rated cornerback in high school, went through Nick Saban, and then now he's doing amazing with the Broncos. I love Pat Surtain.
Yeah, Pat Surtain, I like. You can make the argument right now, but at least in a couple years, he's going to be that guy when you look at all the top corners with Jalen Ramsey, with Jair Alexander. He might even be in that conversation right now. He's a top 5, top 10 corner in the league at this moment, and the future that he has is so bright with this Broncos secondary and defense as a whole. Will, we're going to finally get to you. Give us some thoughts on the Colts at the Broncos.
All right, I'm going to start with the Broncos. Randall Gregory's hurt. He's out for this game.
Who's that?
They're missing let me get to what I'm saying. They're missing.
I think he called him Randall Gregory. That's why we're thrown off.
They're missing a lot of parts in their O-line. Go to the injury notes. They're missing like 3 of their starters. Javonte Williams. So Taylor goes down, who, by the way, he's not the main part of our offense right now. If you've watched any Colts games,
but he just is.
He's put 6.
Then they should make him that because you guys are 1-2-1. They should.
Why do you think they're losing? Why do you think they're losing?
He's not the main part. Him going down isn't going to lose us games. He's probably going to end us doing better. So he's not going to take 20 carries and have average 2.1 yards a carry.
I think Naheem Hines is going to do much better. Much better with that.
I will let him talk. I'll let him talk.
Ben, mute them. You need to let. All right. I lost track of my thought. But why is Javonte Williams going down not a problem? Like, you guys just want to hate on the Colts. Like, I get it. They're 1-2-1. Name it, like, right here. Frank Reich, weeks 1 through 5, since being a Colts coach, 9-14-1. That's a record. In weeks 6 through 18, he's 29-16. This Colts team has never started off good. Okay, I'm not saying they're gonna beat the Broncos. Mute Jack. I don't want to hear.
Week 5.
I don't want to hear from you. Oh, it's week 5. I'm not saying they're gonna win They're gonna win in this game. Okay. I think this Broncos defense is great. I think Pat Surtain is great. I think it's all great. But, like, first of all, let's go back to what Saket said about let Russ cook. You guys are down on him the whole season, and then now he's playing the Colts, and he's just gonna like magically be a wizard and throw for 400 yards. He had a great week last week. All I'm saying is Jonathan Taylor is not the focal point of this offense. The focal point of this offense has been the tight ends and them out of the backfield. Jelani Woods, the rookie 6'7" tight end, caught 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. That's why we won. Mo Alley Cox put up a huge game against the Titans. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's almost been a dead weight at this point. He's had a horrible performance. I don't think we're going to win this game, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Matt Ryan's throwing the ball well. He has 5 picks, sure, but he's a lot of yards. He's getting the ball downfield. That Titans game we lost. We had to come back. We were down 7. We got to the Titans 30-yard line 3 times. He's dead weight. I'm not lying.
Since you're a Colts
I'm not done. All right? They got to the Titans 30-yard line 3 times, and Jonathan Taylor fumbled, Matt Ryan fumbled, and we had a punt because we got sacked. Okay? This O-line's been horrible. I don't expect that to keep up, okay? They have 2 brand new tackles. They're young. They're gonna work together this unit. It's crazy. For every other team in the NFL, it's all give them some time. But with the Colts, it's cutthroat right to it. You got to give them some time. This Colts team is not over. It's week 5. I think they are going to have a good game. I think Pittman and Alec Pierce has gotten no love. He's played amazing at wide receiver too for them. I think that the focal point of their offense hasn't been Jonathan Taylor. It's going to be the tight ends. And do I think the Denver Broncos, who have been kind of depleted at linebacker, are going to go out and like without Justin Simmons are going to go out and shut down our tight ends? I don't think they're going to do that. I think this is going to be a lot closer of a game than you think. And this Broncos team that hasn't been amazing, like, I don't know. And last thing before Shaketh, I know you're dying to talk, okay? Last thing. Stefan Gilmore is getting no love. He's playing great at cornerback. And Kenny Moore, he hasn't played the best, but he's going to step up. Like, it's what is it? Naeem Hines came out and said it. Like, it's every year it's a new quarterback for this team. It's not easy. You're not going to start off and have a great team. But I think as they mold with Matt Ryan, he's the best quarterback they've had since Andrew Luck. I think as they mold, they're going to get better. And if they win this game, this will be the turnaround point. This will be the turnaround point where they go into the weeks and start to play better football. I was upset about the Titans' loss. It was a bad loss, but just sloppy football. If they could clean it up, this Denver game's theirs. Go on, tear me apart what I just said.
First of all, I've never in my life have I seen someone think that Mo Ali Cox is a better option to go to than Jonathan Taylor. Who in their right mind thinks that? No,
I'm not saying the better option.
No, you didn't let me talk. So now you're going to get
group.
You're
not 3 guys.
You're saying he has been, but they're 1-2-1. They're not good. They're 1-2-1. It's not working.
What's not working is the fact that Jonathan Taylor's getting 25 carries a game and putting up 60 yards. I mean, he hasn't found the end zone in 3 games. He right now, you can make fun of me all you want. Throw it back on the board. He's dead weight. He is dead weight to this team. He is dragging us down.
Will, I want to make the argument.
And I'm going to motion to have Will muted here for a second while I say
I will mute Will, but real quick, Will, I want to bring up, is Jonathan Taylor the dead weight? Because I'm sure in this game, we're going to see how Naeem Hines plays. This O-line has been atrocious for this team. So can we really call Jonathan Taylor the dead weight?
Yeah.
He just has nowhere to go?
The Seahawks have a better O-line than you guys. You know how sick that is? That makes me sick. Coming into the season, the Seahawks are ranked the 32nd best O-line that get. The Colts are ranked what? Top 5? It's literally almost flipped now. The Colts are dead, almost dead last. They're dead. They're second to last. Okay, second to last. You know, it's just bad. And for you to call Jonathan Taylor the dead weight is crazy when he was literally getting He was getting stuck in the middle of pancake blocks, getting his ankles twisted. He had no room to run. You yourself said a couple weeks ago that Jonathan Taylor finds every gaping hole on the field available. And I think there hasn't been any gaping holes on the field. And
yep. All
right.
Dead weight. Jonathan Taylor might not be the dead weight. The offensive line is a dead weight. You're right. They're dragging us down. But his performance as a good running, if you want to be a good running back, you can't have the offensive, you can't depend on an offensive line as a good running back. If you want to be such a great running back, it can't be all your offensive line. Jonathan Taylor still has to go out there every day and play better football. I'm just upset with how he's playing. I think the offensive line is the reason we're losing these games. I mean, we're getting sacked 5 times a game. Matt Ryan has fumbled so many times, and it's just ending drives, stopping possession. So, yes. All right.
Well, sure. Since you think there's no offensive line needed for Jonathan Taylor to be good, how about we just get rid of the whole thing? And why don't we just
I'm not saying there's no offensive line needed, but I'm saying if you want to be the number 1 running back in the league, you can't rely 100% on the O-line. And that's what he's been. He's just been really the O-line. The O-line was, what was it, 3rd ranked last year? And he worked off of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
the offensive line is really killing us. But Jonathan Taylor's not there to help.
What
he hasn't done anything
receiving. What running back is going to be good with a horrible offensive line, a 31st ranked offensive line? You tell me. You tell me what running back's going to be good with a line like that.
I'm going to have to back up Will and say Saquon.
Saquon, Derrick Henry.
Okay, that's a great point.
Okay,
Saquon and Derrick Henry. I mean, look. I mean,
the Giants are definitely not the 31st ranked offensive line.
Andrew Thomas has played incredible. That is something I want to get in
That's
there.
About it.
We all saw where Saquon got hit in the backfield and turned it into like a 10-yard gain, right?
Okay, and Saquon is not also completely dependent on rushing. Saquon runs so many routes per game.
Neither is Jonathan Taylor. Well, he's not dependent on rushing. He's a great receiving back. He hasn't done that.
He is, but when you have a guy like Nyheim Hines stealing receiving work, Jonathan Taylor becomes almost dependent on his like straight rushing yards, right? And when he has no holes and he has no ability to get in the open field, I think you can't completely blame him because he has absolutely nowhere to go. And I think just to back this up, if you look at how this team's performed under pass rush, it hasn't been going great either. So I don't think you can completely blame Jonathan Taylor.
I don't think I was completely blaming him. I think there's a lot of flaws in this team. I mean, the defense is not playing where they should. Nothing's playing where they should. That they're 1-2-1. Yeah. If anything was working, they wouldn't be 1-2-1. They would have at least been 2-2-1, like something like that. But nothing has worked. Okay, the only thing that's worked has been the passing game. They've been very good, very sharp. If you give Matt Ryan more than a millisecond in that, he'll exploit the defense. He's a very good quarterback, and I mean he's still an underrated quarterback. I think he'll figure it out. I think the O-line's going to figure it out.
Well, what's your response?
The defense is going to figure it out. I think the Colts are going to finish a lot better than they are right now.
Well, what's your response to the defense not being the same since Shaq Leonard?
I mean, he's the leader of the defense. He's the captain. And without him, it hurts a lot. Like he had 11 turnovers last year by himself. I mean, he's just a stud. There were games won and lost because of him last year. There were more than 2. He's a very underrated linebacker. I'm not going to go into the DPOY conversation, but it's just without him on the field, it hurts. I mean, there's not your leader. So without him being there, it's been rough. He is out. He's ruled out with concussion, but it's going to be a hard game to win. It's going to be a harder game to win without him, and until he comes back and is that set leader again, the defense isn't going to be as sharp.
Yeah, and Will, I think on that defense, you have the star pieces, but a defense only works if it's a whole, if they're working together as a whole, and that's where I think the Colts struggle right now. They don't have those little pieces that need to fill in the slots, and that's why they're struggling. That's why they're getting shut out by the Jaguars and letting up 20 to the Texans. I think if they could fill those gaps, then that's where the Colts start to see some real progression this season. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up there to preview this game real quick. I want to get some picks and maybe just a score prediction for this game. So, Saketh, I'll start with you. Who do you have winning, and what kind of score are we expecting?
Yeah, let Russ cook. Broncos country is going to ride, and I'm going to do, I'll say 24-9.
Okay. Jack, who do we have?
I'll say Broncos 2017.
No, I'm actually, for the first time this season, I'll go with Will, and I'm going to go with the Colts here. Actually, Jack, I'm going to agree with you. I got 20-17, but just in the Colts' favor. Will?
I do think this is going to be a very hard game for the Colts to win, but I think they could do it. And as a Colts fan, I'm not going to go against my team. Like, I'm not going to go pick the Broncos, but I'm going to go with Colts. It's going to be a weird game. The prime time has been so weird. We're going to go like 17-14.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not expecting a 30-plus point game. It's going to be very low scoring. I think we all know that. Two solid defenses, and the offenses are looking not so great. That's going to do it for this episode, Thursday Night Football preview, and our top 5 teams in the NFL. So for Will Kwiatkowski, Jack Kemmler, Saketh Kodori, I'm Ben Chadwick. Thanks for watching.